I'm Nick Armstrong, and you're watching Dear Fort Collins, a podcast featuring the people that make Fort Collins a wonderful place to live. This series of episodes is all about the election that's happening in November 2025. And we're interviewing all of the different candidates for mayor, city council, and PSD school board. And we want to hear from them in their own words about why they're running, what they care about, and you then can be more informed about who you're voting for when it's time to fill out your ballot. With ranked choice voting, it's really difficult to know sometimes who your candidates are and what order you're going to rank them in. So I hope these series of episodes really help you figure out which candidates best align with your interests and needs. And as we do these interviews, I want you to know that I have given the candidates access to the questions in advance. I try to ask all of the candidates the same questions, or at least give them an opportunity to answer the same questions in the same kind of way. And there's very minimal editing on any of these episodes. So unless there was an errant sneeze or a cat jumping on someone's lap, you're hearing from the candidates in their own words. I do have a quick disclaimer to give you that I serve on the Parks and Recreation Board for the city of Fort Collins, and my opinions on this show are my own. They're not the position of the board or of the city. And I have also advised a number of the candidates about their campaigns, and in some cases have either helped with their campaigns or made a donation here or there. I do my absolute best to make sure that they all get fair treatment, that there aren't any favorites being played, and that also we're asking them the same types of questions and they have an opportunity to answer those in kind. I hope that you enjoy these episodes and that they help you become a more informed voter in the upcoming election. And if you do have any questions, concerns, or comments, please let me know and reach out on the Dear Fort Collins website. I'm always happy to hear from you. And some of the questions that you'll hear me ask of the candidates have been submitted by listeners and watchers just like you. Folks who are fans of the show and want to know more about particular candidates and their positions on particular things. So with that, let's get on with the show. This episode, we have mayoral candidate Shirley Peel with us. Shirley, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Nick. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Tell me about your campaign. How's it going so far?
You know, it's actually going better than I thought. I feel like there's a lot of buzz around it, a lot of excitement. And people have been super encouraging. So I'm really encouraged, actually.
Awesome. Well, tell us what motivated you to run for office?
Well, the short answer is service, but a little bit longer answer. When my kids left home, it's probably been 4 or 5 years now, I was trying to reinvent myself, and I was like, why not run for office? So I ran for city council. I was elected and I served for 3 years. And then I took about 2 years off. I think it's almost been 2 years now, and decided that I missed being on council. I missed solving problems. I miss interacting with people and helping them with their issues with the city. And I just decided I wanted to do it again. So here I am.
What does Fort Collins mean to you? And what does the position of mayor in particular mean to you?
Well, the question about Fort Collins, that's a great question, because almost 25 years ago, we moved here, and my husband and I raised our 4 kids here, and we just had so many opportunities. My kids had so many opportunities, and we just love Fort Collins. And I just want to be able to give back to the community that literally helped me raise my kids.
And what in particular does the mayorship mean to you?
The mayorship, well, the mayor is actually 1 vote out of 7, right? But I think what I'm most excited about, the possibility of being mayor, are the interactions with people. Because, the mayor is the kind of the face of Fort Collins, and you get to go and you get to meet people that I would get to go and meet people that I probably would never interact with if I weren't mayor. So that's probably what I'm most excited about.
Can you share a specific project or issue that you'd like to tackle first if elected?
As a council member, there were several specific projects for my district, District 4. The mayor, is at large, so it's over the city. And so I don't know that projects would be the right word, as much as I know there's issues coming up that we're going to be facing, such as our sales tax is dropping. And so I know next year we're going to have to look at the budget and we're going to have to decide how best to spend the money. And unfortunately, it's looking like there's going to be some cuts. So that's going to be a big project, I guess you can call it. Something that keeps me up at night that I don't hear a lot of people mention is our water situation, because, water in the West is very precious. We have more people come into the area, which means bigger strain on our water. And so I could go on for a long time about water, but just suffice it to say, we're going to have to do things differently than we have in the past. And then another big issue is project, I guess if you want to call it, is the PRPA. They're wanting to build a natural gas plant that eventually converts to green hydrogen. And there's just a lot of dissension over that. I hear from people who want it, I hear from people who don't. So that's going to be interesting to figure that out, I think.
PRPA is Platte River Power Authority for
Yes.
those keeping along at home. Shirley, you mentioned two specific things. They're actually probably three specific things. Two of them related to infrastructure. One of them related to sales tax. Small businesses are the source of a lot of the sales tax for folks that are coming into town, spending money with us here in Fort Collins. Sales tax then goes into things like parks and art and all of the cool services that we have as a city. What are your plans as mayor to sort of help that process along or support small businesses? And related to that, what does the infrastructure look like to help support and drive some of those things as Fort Collins grows? As you mentioned, there's water issues and power questions and other things like that.
So I feel like there was like three different questions in there.
Let's break it down into at least two questions. The first one is, what does your policy for small business support look like, and what are your plans for helping to bolster the sales tax base that the city relies on to provide services?
Perfect. That's much better. So, as you know, I am a passionate supporter of our small businesses, because without our small businesses, we would not have the sales and use tax that we need to pay for these things. I think a lot of people don't understand that. So my first thing that I would do is create a business-friendly environment and make people aware of the value that our businesses bring to our city. And I really would like to have a business roundtable where I have voices from the business community that I meet with, so they can share the things that they're having trouble with, in regards to the city or what they're struggling with, and see what we can do to help that. I was just at the Oak Street Plaza Market on Saturday, and I visited with the owner of Dandelion and Rust, and she shared with me, and this is not necessarily a city thing, but it's just an example of what our businesses are facing. She shared with me that with the property tax valuations, her rent is going to go up $700 a month. She's a single mom with 3 kids. She said, there's no way I can manage that. And so it's just stories like that just really touched my heart. And so I just really want to be an advocate and do what we can to help our small businesses.
Returning to the idea of infrastructure, then, as Fort Collins grows, what is sort of your plan of action for looking at the infrastructure needs, whether that's traffic or water or accommodating some of this growth that seems to be coming down the pipeline for us?
Well, I think I'm going to kind of answer your question in a more broad sense. I think the reason we've had trouble with infrastructure and water and those things that you mentioned is that our land use code has not been flexible. It has been almost a one size fits all. And I think we just have to really learn to be flexible and innovative the way we let things develop. I'm going to give you an example. I think the city needs to be really proactive in this area. On Shields and Drake, I drive by there every morning going to the gym, and they're building something there. And I was like, what are they building? What are they building? And I finally realized they're building more storage units. Now, granted, if you have property, you want to build storage units, that's your right. But there used to be 3 houses there, and they tore those down. That small piece of property would have been ideal for some housing, some multi-dwelling units, because there's a grocery store, there's a senior center, there's a convenience store, there's a gym, there's a Starbucks, and I'm just thinking to myself, why isn't the city, and I get it's private property, people can, build what they want, but why isn't the city identifying places like that and saying, what can we put here that is going to enhance our neighborhood or our city and allow for more housing that is, makes sense. It's a great spot for just a small apartment building. So anyway, that's an example. I don't know if that really answers your question, but it's just having the flexibility to do that, to go to this, whoever owns this, and say, how can we help you develop this into housing or whatever's needed. I don't necessarily think we need more storage units. That's my opinion.
I concur, but do you see that the city's responsibility in this role is largely through the land use code and sort of like guiding the development review process towards a more cohesive solution for things like homelessness and other things?
Right. It's I think that's their avenue that they have, right, is the land use code. I think another avenue that they have is working with the nonprofits and strengthening our nonprofits, because the nonprofits fill in where the city can't. And I've actually been making the rounds and trying to visit with all the nonprofits here in town. And that includes Catholic Charities, and haven't made it to the mission, but I talk to Seth pretty regularly. And I've been asking them, how can the city help you be more successful? And I've actually, they've actually given me, some ideas, like maybe breaks on their utility bills, and they need help, like if they're trying to do build the mission or build, or do a change of use for their property. Like they really need somebody to hold their hands, because they're not developers. They're not really business people. And so yeah, just stuff like that. Am I still not answering your question?
No, that's perfectly. I was going to ask a follow-up, which is that a lot of the city's services and the niceties of Fort Collins are extended by 501c3s that backfill in services where the city's sales tax can't quite reach. And do you see the city's role in supporting those arts and cultural organizations and other 501c3s that handle other services that the city can't quite provide on its own? Do you see the city's role extending into those areas as well?
Right. I don't know what you mean by extending, because, money, but just one nonprofit person told me, said, what, even if you could just be a convener, bring us all together, make sure we're not duplicating services, and that we're all communicating, so city can be a convener. They said also you can amplify us, right? You could make sure people know we're here, make sure people know what we're providing. So, and I'm sure there's other things. I have my notes. I probably should have pulled those out, but yeah, they're very interested in working with the city to figure out how we can work together better to provide services for people.
As we talk about services that are being provided by the city and what type of city we kind of envision for us and moving into the future, what's your understanding of the needs of the LGBTQIA plus community and our visitors that come to our city?
I actually think that, I went to Pride Fest, and I had an opportunity to visit with a lot of that community. And Actually, I visited with quite a few people. I was actually kind of surprised. I visited with quite a few people that didn't actually live here, but they were thinking about moving here because they feel comfortable here. They feel safe here. And I don't know, I'm just learning about the needs, but from what I'm seeing, we're, like Barb Kistler with the Human Rights Commission, she does her thing, I think quarterly, where you go and you listen and you hear what the needs are. So that's been very helpful. And I don't know, I just think that there's been a lot of infrastructure, if that's what you want to call it, I'm trying to think of a better word, program, or I don't know, infrastructure. I think there's been a lot of infrastructure built to support people that are in that community.
As mayor, is there any particular concrete action or thing that you're looking for to sort of help ensure the safety and inclusion of the LGBTQIA plus community?
Well, let me ask you a question, because when I was visiting with people, they were saying that the reason they wanted me here is because they did feel safe. Are you hearing that they don't feel safe? Because that's not what I'm hearing. But
I think environmentally right now,
right.
the political climate that we're in, the community does feel under threat, certainly. And so doing everything we can to create a sense of place, a sense of well-being and inclusion and safety is a top priority. And that often comes from the elected officials. And so I think my question is more guided in that vein of, are there, things that we want to see and do as a community to build a sense of place that that perpetuates that inclusion and safety for our LGBTQ community?
Right. I think so. I'm gonna push back a little bit, because I think not to say that what they're feeling is not real, right? But I would just challenge, because I had this conversation with Chief Swoboda when the anti-police sentiment was sweeping the country, right? And I was asking him, did they feel that here? His officers feel that here? And he said, I don't think they're feeling that from the people here. I think they are translating that national sentiment onto the people of Fort Collins. So I would just really be interested to know if they're just feeling unsafe because of the national sentiment and they're overlaying that onto the community of Fort Collins, or if we're actually really making them feel safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't visited with the people in the community that much to know, right? Like, I mean, if it's the national conversation, yet they can be safe in Fort Collins, that's one issue. But if it's the national conversation and they're actually not safe in Fort Collins, that's a whole nother issue. So maybe I'll call Barb and visit with her and get her thoughts on that.
This is our first major election using ranked choice voting. How do you plan to appeal to voters who may not see you as their first choice?
I don't know if you've heard the conversations on the street about ranked choice voting, but I feel like everybody's losing their mind. And I'm like, just rank 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you got to do. It's interesting you asked me that, because we have a young man that's been just on his own working on an app that I think we're going to put on our website, for people can just, try it out. I think it has actually made it easier for me to campaign because, and I'll tell you why. If you have been labeled as something and you go to a different group and it's just the regular campaigning, they kind of look at you funny, like, why are you in my group? But if I say, or if they already understand ranked choice voting, they totally understand that I'm trying to appeal to a broader sense. So that's been a really good thing. I think the hard thing is nobody knows what's going to happen with it. So we'll see.
Are there any, because you can select multiple candidates across a number of different rankings, are there any voter groups or views that you're intentionally not seeking to court or be associated with?
No, no. I mean, I go to all the Republican stuff. I go to all the Democrat stuff. I go to all the candidates that are running. I try to make all of their events. So no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not really avoiding. And, if you look on my website, I'm not taking endorsements either, because I feel like that further divides people and puts people back in those camps. So if we're moving forward with ranked choice voting and we're able to create a space where you can campaign across the board, I don't know why you would bring it back. You would bring back that division by taking endorsements. So
And having campaigned, I know that that's a tricky thing. Running for office is always a series of choices that you have to make in the moment, and often with, under extreme financial pressure and other things like that. How about we turn to something a little bit more fun? What would voters be surprised to learn about you? And if you don't have something off the top of your head, what was your weirdest job? How about that?
I haven't really had any weird jobs. I think when I talk to people, it's not personally about me, but something that they're very interested in and something that they think is very unique. And we have a lot of stories about is that my husband used to be on faculty at CSU, and we used to keep the live mascot at our barn for like probably 10 or 12 years. So
Cam the Ram.
Cam the Ram, yes.
Did Cam ever escape and just go full force down the road or something like that?
He's escaped a couple of times. He one time when my youngest was 4, he headbutted him and just sent him flying over the fence. Then there was the time that my husband decided that he needed to breed Cam to a ewe, and we had I think there were 3 or 4 baby Cams, and people lost their minds over it. 9 News came out and filmed them. I think CSU did a naming competition or something. Yeah, it was crazy. It was fun though. It was a lot of fun.
Keep it on this train. If you could have any superpower to help your community, what would it be?
Any superpower. My passion for my community is bridge building. So if I could have a superpower, it would be that ability to help. No, I'm going to go with make. Make people see other people's point of view.
Along those lines, who do you consider to be a role model in public service, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, you asked me that question. What was it? Probably, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I'm going to stick with this answer. Well, actually, I have 2 answers. So past and present. I told you this the first time you asked me this, is my stepdad, because he is the epitome of community service. We lived in a small town, and anytime there was a need, he served on the school board, he served on the water board, he served on the planning and zoning, the appraisal board, the city council. Like anytime there was something, a position open, he just stepped up and served. 0 money, right? Totally volunteer. So that's my role model. And but in the present right now, and even into the future, are my kids. My kids constantly amaze me with how much they love people, how much they care for people. And yeah, just really proud of my kids right now.
If you remember any particular piece of advice that you received but you didn't follow, and now you wish you kind of had? What was that piece of advice that you didn't follow and you wish you had?
You mean like as in regards to campaign or
Anything across the board, yeah. So if you
yeah.
have you ever received a piece of advice that you didn't follow and now you kind of wish you had?
I not to sound prideful here, but I feel like I'm pretty good at taking advice. I've listened to people. But when we were walking around Old Town the other day and you asked if I played the piano, um, my mom was a piano teacher and we just butted heads over practicing the piano. And so I do not play the piano as well as I think I could because I would not practice.
So you wish you could go back and practice piano.
Yes,
I
yes.
gotcha.
And
That's interesting.
when you asked me that the other day, I was like, oh, yeah, I was a dummy.
Uh, as a parent with a musical child, getting them to practice is one of the most, you don't want to push too hard, but it's boy, oh boy, do you not want them to just slack off on it, because you never, oh man, and that's a really fine line to walk. So I hear you.
I, I would say push. If they have talent, I would say push because they don't know that they don't understand the gift that they've been given at this age, probably. Yeah.
Well, coming is a long journey from, wishing that you had maybe put a little bit more time into piano to maybe 20 years in the future. What do you think that Fort Collins will look like 20 years from now?
Oh, are you asking me what I think it will look like or what I want it to look like?
What do you want it to look like?
Okay, what I want it to look like. I think this was a vision. No, this is the vision I had in my head the whole time we were doing the land use code debate. And my vision is that we have mixed neighborhoods that are multi-generational. You have small homes to bigger homes, and you have kids out playing in the street, and you have older people and middle-aged people all getting together for a block party. You have, if you want to walk to a grocery store, you can walk to a grocery store, or if you want to walk over to a restaurant or a coffee shop, you can do that, or ride your bike. I know that sounds a little Pollyanna, but that's what I would like to see, just like where we're not so separated by neighborhoods and separated by distance. Yeah, that's my vision.
More multimodal.
Yes. And just more interconnected, not only like multimodal, but like age-wise and ability-wise and socioeconomic-wise. And yeah.
You hinted at something that I think is pretty important. What do you think that Fort Collins will look like in 20 years if it doesn't get to your vision?
It's sometimes I think we'll get to that, but then sometimes government's just so hard. It's cumbersome and it's bulky. That's why I'm always advocating, can we streamline? And so, when you've gone one direction for so many years, it's hard to turn the ship around. But I think there's a lot of people advocating for the same vision. So I think if we can keep that in front of the people and, keep saying, this is where we want to go, this is why we want to go there, and this is how we get there, I think we could do it in 30 years or so. It's very interesting. I think my mother-in-law used to work for a property manager company, and they did some developing too. And she took me through one of their neighborhoods, and this is in Texas, and it was totally like that. There were people sitting on the front porch There were people walking, and in Texas, people don't like to walk, but they had created this little village. And so I think about that a lot when I think about Fort Collins.
I'm going to ask you a series of rapid fire questions next.
Are they yes or no? Because I don't like that.
They're not yes or no. Okay. I've filled out those questionnaires too. These ones are much more fun than that, I promise. Whatever answers off the top of your head is just fine. Okay. What is your favorite coffee shop?
My favorite coffee shop at the moment, because it switches, is Bendel.
What's your favorite brewery?
I don't drink beer, but I spend a lot of time at the Horse and Dragon.
What's your favorite park?
My favorite park. Oh, that's a hard one. I don't go to the parks anymore since I don't have little kids, but when my kids were little, they used to love, is it even still there? They used to love to go to the park at Tavelli.
Yeah. Tavelli Elementary, they just updated the playground to not just be the wooden, there was an amazing wooden fort with those giant railroad trussels and things like that. Yeah, it was beautiful. They actually have kept that modality and built a ton of cool plastic and metal and other things, like modernized, safety, but it's still very much in that same fort configuration. And they replaced the President's Fitness Challenge type pull up and other things like that with more swings and more gymnastics type things and even some parkour elements, which are really neat. Yeah. But my favorite part about that, I love that is your favorite park, but the thing that I always really appreciated about that park in particular was that there was a plaque right outside of the park that outlined 20 to 40 different businesses and community members and had all of their names on it for everybody who contributed to it, because it was such a great playground right on the edge of town. And I think kiddos getting to have that experience when it's especially in Northeast Fort Collins, trying to get to somewhere else is really, you can't bike there. So.
Right. It was literally the furthest park from our house. But if we said, let's go to the park, that's where they wanted to go.
I love it. Horsetooth hike or Pooter Trail bike ride?
Either one. Yeah, either one.
What's your favorite book right now?
My favorite book right now is, I don't know if it's my favorite book, but it's what I'm reading, and it is very eye-opening, and I'm almost done with it, is The Housing Trap.
If someone is trying to get in touch with you, phone call, email, or text?
Text, for sure.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I switch around, actually. Yeah. I'm an early bird by necessity, but I would probably stay up late if I didn't have to get up early.
What is your favorite nonprofit in town?
My favorite nonprofit. I would say I love all of them. I've loved getting to know them. I think the one I was really impressed with was Realities for Children. I was impressed with their infrastructure.
If you had to pick one word to describe Fort Collins, what would it be?
One word. I would say bright. I don't know why. I just feel like it's a kind of a shining light. Yeah.
If you could change one thing about Fort Collins, just snapping your fingers, what would it be?
Honestly, right now, the traffic. Is it my imagination, or are there more cars out there?
Ton. Tell me more about how you would do you have a specific idea about how to change the traffic in Fort Collins?
Well, first of all, I'm curious to where the traffic's coming from. Is it out of town, or is it because then that's two different answers, right? Well, not two different answers, but kind of two different systems, maybe is better word. But I would just love to see our mass transit take off and people feel comfortable just getting on the bus and I'm able to get somewhere, in a decent amount of time. I think if there's another answer out there, I don't know it. I think the mass, our transit system has to be the answer to getting the cars off the road. Because really, I was looking when I was driving today. So the Harmony from Mason, where the max is, it was backed up nearly all the way to Shields. I'm not even joking. And I'm like, what is going on? I don't know if the train came by. I don't know what, but it just seemed like there's cars. Yeah, there's just a lot of, I don't know where I was going with that, but there's just a lot of cars everywhere. And what I was going to say is, I don't think we can expand our infrastructure anymore, right? We can't, literally cannot keep expanding our streets. There's not enough room. So we got to work on that mass transit.
If you weren't running for office, what would you be doing this year?
If I weren't running for office, well, before I decided to run for office, I was actually looking for jobs, and I would like to be in the policy sector. I like policy a lot. So I actually Trisha was trying to help me find some positions in policy. So that's what like a think tank or something like that.
Is there anything else you'd like the audience to know about you or your campaign or why you're running?
Why I'm running, I said this last night at the Mayoral Forum, is I'm just passionate about people, right? I want to help make people's lives better. I want to love on people. That's how we raised our kids. And that's why I'm so proud of them, because I see them doing that all the time now. So that's the one thing I would like them to know. And, with the ranked choice voting, please rank all of the candidates. And if I'm not your number one choice, that's okay. Would love to be your number two choice.
And Shirley, where can we learn more about you and your campaign?
You can go to shirleyforfoco.com. You can email me, shirley@shirleyforfoco.com, or I believe my number is on the website. Text me, grab coffee. I'm happy to meet with you and visit with you. And you can find my meet and greets on the website, I think. And come out to one of those and visit with me.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Shirley, so much for joining us today. And I hope that your campaign goes well and you'll have a lot of success and fun out there on the campaign trail. It's difficult, as I know. It's one of the hardest things I think any citizen of Fort Collins can do is run for office. And so I'm glad that you were able to join me today on the show.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.